don't have to define faith in the context of religion. That's not necessary. However, what is necessary is a willingness to believe in yourself. That is where the faith starts. And when we talk about forgiveness, to have faith that you have the willingness to forgive.
Hi, my name is Terry Willis,
And I am Dr. Sonia Toledo.
and welcome to another episode of The Power of Family.
So today's episode is on faith, forgiveness, and family. And we have a special guest today, Reverend Melissa, who is a spiritual coach, interfaith spiritual leader, and a spiritual speaker. And I'm so excited because she has so much going on since the last time we met. We have been colleagues for quite a long time. We've known each other for so long, gone through so many journeys together with our own family. And I'm excited to have you here, Melissa.
Thank
Tell
you,
us more.
Sonia. Thank you, Sonia. I so appreciate that. And I'm so honored to join both you and Terry today on this wonderful platform and to be able to share this specific topic. So Sonia and I have known each other for many moons, and I'm a couple of things. I'm a spiritual life coach. I am an interfaith minister, and I'm the spiritual leader of a New Thought Center in New York called Rockland Centers for Spiritual Living. And that has been a journey for another episode. But we're talking about one of my favorite topics. You're actually combining three things that I truly love: faith, family, and forgiveness. And all three of those elements go together so perfectly when we talk about healing in family relationships and family dynamics. And for me, the element of faith is about not about religion, but it's about having a willingness, just having a willingness to step out of whatever has been the condition, whatever has been the story, whatever has been the experience, to be willing to experience something else. Just to take that first step out of what was into the possibility of what can be. And when people take that first step, they also see that in that step is a choice. So we get to make a choice about how we are even holding our families within ourselves.
Yeah.
So I would just like to offer that as an opening.
That's a great opening because I do want to have that question of how does faith play in family? How do you think it plays a role in our families, especially in today's time?
Yeah. So I think faith is something that we get to cultivate within ourselves. And I'm a mother of twin girls who Sonia has known since they were about 3 or 4 years old, and they are now 18 years old in college. And they're,
Congratulations.
thank you.
You've done your job.
Thank you. And they're both at HBCUs. So shout out to Spelman and shout out to Tuskegee.
And two different,
Indeed.
wow, that is awesome. Congratulations. That is
Thank you.
definitely some
Thank you.
love, 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 love. Mhm.
Woo, yes.
Yes.
So I think about my journey with faith growing up in my family
Mhm.
and how different that was the journey of my daughters in our nuclear family
Yes.
with myself and my husband. It's been a totally different path. right? It looked
Mhm.
very different. I was raised in a Pentecostal church. I was raised to fear God, literally.
Yes.
I was
Mhm.
raised to believe that that God was judging every single thing that I did. So I was very afraid of God. And why would I want to have faith in that?
Mhm.
Is what I questioned at a very young age, which wasn't welcomed in my family. But it gave me an appreciation to explore and to get curious. So I'm grateful for that. And with my girls, they did not grow up in the church, right?
Mhm.
And so their sense of faith came from really observing me and my husband and our walk with what it is that we say that we desire to experience in our lives, and having the faith in knowing that we can have that through our relationship with whatever you want to call it, the higher power, God, universe, it doesn't matter. That which is greater than we are. And so they got to witness that. And I think that was way more powerful of an experience than what I experienced growing up in the environment that I did. So my girls, they talk about the power of manifestation.
Mm.
When they decided that they were going to go to HBCUs, they had total faith that as long as they did what they needed to do, that everything else would get taken care of.
Yeah.
And they apply that to going to college, to going to see Beyonce, for example, right? They know that it works for everything,
Okay.
but they played their part. So they
Mm.
have faith in themselves.
Yeah.
When we talk about faith, we often think about something external from ourselves, as if there's somebody with a magic wand making things happen. Faith is faith within ourselves, faith in ourselves, faith to know that we too are creators,
Mhm.
not co-creators. We are actually creating our lives
Right.
in our relationships with our families, especially. We are by the choices that we make.
I want to make that connection though, because there's some things that I that's coming up for me, like, integrity, being your word, expressing who you are as a parent, so you could be that role model for your kids. And this thing about faith, I have faith in my children, but I have faith in myself. So when my children say they take they pivot and they're going on a direction that is not too fond of me, right? That I'm not fond of. We judge our kids, we coerce them to go a different direction, and that's where the religion comes in. It's like, you're going to be if you don't behave. That's in my house. That's how we were
Yeah.
correct, right? We were consequenced by, you're going to be doomed, or you're this. It really became a good and a bad kind of
Mhm.
environment. So I'm just curious, how do we speak about faith that doesn't necessarily speak in a religious structure?
Yeah. I think similar to what I said before about how we're defining faith, right? We don't have to define faith in the context of religion. That's not necessary. However, what is necessary is a willingness to believe in yourself.
Mm.
That is where the faith starts. And when we talk about forgiveness, to have faith that you have the willingness to forgive.
Hmm.
I work with families where they start with they could never forgive whatever or whomever because of what they did. We have to sit with that.
Hmm.
We can't move forward until we can get to a place, just a little space where there is just a willingness to hold whatever happened in a different way, you know? And that's where we can start. But it's very challenging to start to move forward when working with families where there is a unwillingness to even consider the possibility of seeing this from a different lens.
Yeah.
If I may ask, Lynn, how do or where do or have you defined or created how do we break through this?
So where I start with families, and usually it's it's either with the parents or it may be with a adult. I don't work with children, so I only work with adults. So it may be a adult child, right, with
Sure.
their
Sure.
their parents, or separately. It's usually for me the adult child who has been holding on to a deep pain, a deep hurt, and not knowing how that is impacting their life, right? They have a sense that it's impacting their life, but they don't know what to do about it. And they have been living, believing, and it may be, and this is their reality. So it's never a conversation about what the reality is, right? Because that's just a waste of time. So when we talk about the how-to, I start with them. I don't start engaging in the forgiveness aspect yet, because usually when there is
Trauma.
Yes, when there is
Hurt.
a deep pain, it can be difficult for people to connect with themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
So-
Because all of our relationships are an opportunity for us to see that which needs to be healed within ourselves.
What I am hearing then is that this is more than just a generational gap. This is something that runs, I surmise generational gaps themselves can encompass hurt and pain. But what I'm hearing is something much more deeper than just a gap.
Yeah. It's a way of being. It is how you relate with yourself. That's the foundational relationship, and you learn how to relate with yourself within your family. And so I'm trying to think of an example that I could share, and so here's one. So, and this is a pretty common one when I do spiritual life coaching, or even when I'm ministering to someone at service at my center. A common one is around love relationships, right? And so someone having been in multiple relationships and all of those relationships ending in a very painful way. Now, the person goes through similar experiences with different people, and we know this, right? What is the common denominator here? The common denominator is me, right? So at what point am I going to stop that pattern and start to relate to myself to see what that pattern is playing out within, right? So the how-to when I'm working with people is the relationship with yourself first. So what are your, and I deal in the spiritual realm because everything is spiritual. We're spiritual beings. We're having a spiritual experience in this physical form. So that's the way in which I see life. And so how are you engaging yourself from the perspective that you are already whole, you are already worthy, you are already complete, you are already lovable? So how can we draw that in And that becomes the foundation for your relationships, because when we start to heal those wounds, when we start to heal and transform those beliefs, we start to attract that which we believe that we are. So oftentimes, there's this it's exhausting to believe that the healing starts out there somewhere.
Yes, yes. What they did to me is why
Yes.
I'm the way I am. And I have to say that I have lived that life. Something that really comes up for me, I do a training on darkness to light for sexual abuse survivors. Well, the survivors are the ones that are teaching on how to prevent child sexual abuse to youth development, right? And there's one quote that one of the survivors say in this is, not forgiving is like drinking poison, you drinking poison, thinking that the other person is going to die. The part that we're connecting here is that the adults that are parenting, or the adults that have parents, the work is within themselves, right? Because the way I'm going to see myself, if I see myself as a victim, as, unworthiness, you mentioned so many things, unlovable, all of those things start, manifesting with your energy outside. And that's why you're attracting the same.
That's why you're attracting the
You
same.
keep attracting because you're holding on to this like it's in dear life, and someone expecting someone else to do something for you. And as a child, we always see like, you should have done this, you should have done better, you should have done, it's like my parents should have done this for me, or else I would have been better if they would have done that. So the work is within you, regardless of where you are, if you're talking about your parent or you're talking about your children. So we project those things, as I hear you saying, spiritually, energetically to our children.
Oh, absolutely. Let me share this story. I think this is a good illustration. It's a story that involves myself and one of my girls. They were probably about 8 or 9 years old, and one of the things that I would tell them is, don't wait until the night before for something you need the next day, right? So in this case, they needed their gym clothes washed. And so on this particular day, it was Zola, I told her to take out whatever she needed to get washed so I could wash it. And she didn't do it, right? So the next day, she says to me, "Oh, mommy, I need you to wash, whatever, the gym clothes." And I said to her, "I told you, don't wait until the day before for something you need the next day. That's why I asked you yesterday," right? So we're having this conversation, and I was totally unaware until she said to me, I was unaware of how I was speaking to her, until she said to me, "Mommy, I come to you in peace and you come to me in war."
Mm. Mm.
Sonia, Terry,
Mm.
this 8-year-old is
Mm.
saying to me that
Teaching you.
she comes to me in peace and I am coming to her in war. It stopped me in my tracks. And I said to her, let me take a moment and I'll be back. Right?
You had to retreat.
Because that's what we model in our household. Like, before the words come out, and if someone makes you aware of something, you take a minute to take that in, and then we could come back. Because sometimes what we do in families instead is we become defensive. Right?
Yes.
We become judgmental.
Yes.
We become the lawyer, saying what our proof is,
Right.
you know?
Evidence.
Yes,
And then
yes.
we bring up all this past stuff, and you do it all the time.
Yes, we use those
We're
words,
doing it again.
always and never. Yes, we can
And
go
those
there.
grievances carry with us for years and years and years.
Yes,
And
and
it's hard to break
evolve
them.
into something else,
Yes.
right? So I took that pause and I went back to her and I asked her, what was it about my engagement with you that you had that experience of me? And she said it was my tone.
Mm.
It wasn't that I was yelling. It even wasn't the words I was saying, but it was my tone, right? Let me tell you, I have been told and given feedback about my tone all my life.
And this 8-year-old.
And this 8-year-old is saying, yeah, mommy, you may have been working on that all your life, but guess what? You still got some work to do. I'm here to tell you, right? So that has nothing to do with my daughter. It has nothing to do with the laundry. It has nothing to do with any of that. What it has to do with is me. Is me. So when we work with people, it is so important to come to a understanding that it starts with us, and to also to know that it creates such a sense of freedom, because what you're saying is, I have the freedom to heal this,
Mm-hmm.
right? I have the power within me to heal this. I have the power to create a different relationship with my mother or with my father or with my daughter or son or with whomever. But that relationship, that forgiveness, because I was like, I forgive myself. You know? We got to do our own forgiveness work, right? For ourselves. I forgive myself. I forgive myself. Because you need to cultivate what that even feels like. What does forgiveness feel like in your body? We know what trauma feels like in our body. We know what pain and disappointment. We know what those feel like in our bodies. But what does forgiveness feel like? You know, how do we start to cultivate that feeling? Because the healing is in the feeling.
Right. And the forgiveness, when you say forgiveness for yourself, you got to step away from the other person a little bit, because you're not looking at you're looking at yourself as the victim. You're looking at yourself as the person you hurt, or, and when you see yourself in those views, that's not faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's destruction.
Yes.
Right. But just removing that person just a little bit so you could restore who you are. And you mentioned about that the restorativeness is, I am worthy. I am lovable. And that's hard.
Yes.
It doesn't matter that it's hard, right? We do hard things.
Mm-hmm.
We do hard things all the time. What matters is that we're willing to do the hard things, right? We're willing to show up and do that which we had not done in the past.
Yeah.
What we are looking to do with this program here that we have erected is that we're looking to use the tools in which you are speaking of.
Mm-hmm.
In the how-to.
Yeah.
How do we project these tools onto others who need them without them feeling that we're pushing our beliefs and our feelings onto them? And I see you smile.
Yeah.
I see you smiling at that statement, because I'm quite sure you've run into it many occasions.
Yes. Yes.
But again, how do we work with you and you work with us
Mm-hmm.
in getting this out to those who need it? Because that's what this platform is all about right now.
So
We're
it's
offering a new vehicle here.
yes. So there's nothing new under the sun, y'all.
Exactly.
It's using these tools that Terry is talking about. I put them under the umbrella of a spiritual practice. Again, I'm always going to go back to your relationship with yourself and the relationship within you of that higher whatever, right? So spiritual practice. So some of the things that we can do that's very powerful is have a dialogue. Now, I would recommend this particular tool with a professional, right? Because when we're dealing with trauma, we need someone to hold that space for us because we don't know how that trauma is going to be expressed sometimes when we're doing some of these practices. But one of the practices that I go to quite often, especially when there is forgiveness in the family related to a close family member, mother, father, sister, brother, so the nuclear family. Dialogue. We have two chairs. You sit in one. The person that you are having a challenge forgiving sits in the other, and you have a dialogue. You are literally speaking for that person that you need to forgive. So you are physically in your seat as yourself, and then you're getting up and you're in the seat of the other person, and you are speaking the words, right? And you are hearing yourself speak those words to yourself from those two perspectives. And usually what happens is something is seen or realized in a different way. So that's one thing. The second, same tool, same method, is to have the other person speak, saying the things that you wish they had spoken to you, or speaking about the situation from the perspective of how you would have liked for it to have unfolded. So we could put that under the umbrella of reframing, right?
And I'm going to put it
through
under my
dialogue.
umbrella of check.
Say more
Check.
about check.
Yeah. For me, it's check. Because as we're moving forward with the program, we're building the tools that we can pass on to others and pass on your experiences and hopefully bring you along with us as we're doing this. Hopefully.
Yes.
Because we're going to need help. We can't do this alone.
No.
We can't.
No. We need each other.
Exactly. So that's what I mean by check. Okay.
Okay.
Check your box that you're in. Okay. You are in. Rev,
He's
you are
excited
in.
about you, Terry. Terry's excited about you, Reverend Melissa.
Okay.
Now let me.
Yes, I am.
I received that.
Yeah. Rev, you're in because this is the real. This is getting down. This is the drilling down in moving from the topic of conversation and issues to drilling down and finding a solution. And that's what I see here. That's what I heard here. That's what I mean by check. Okay. To be used.
Right. And of course, use the tool. So I want to challenge a little bit. How do we communicate to get to that place where I'm willing to sit with the person in front of me? Right? Because there's a step before that. We tend to, and I'm saying us as human beings, when we're acting as humans, as the victim, as the person that's been hurt, to be in that pain, to be in that hurt, because we're so comfortable with it. And it's really hard for us to have that conversation. And I'm talking really honest with you from my relationship with my mom in my 30s and then in my 40s, I'm still blaming her for, my childhood, right? Whatever my traumas were in my childhood. But there was something that at one point, and I make it a little, because I'm a big mush. there was a point in my life where not only was I looking at how I am with my children, but how am I with my mom? And I made that choice to be a good daughter, regardless. So then that's when my healing started, because I started working, like what you said, over here, right? So I really want us to talk about, because you say it starts with you, but how do you get there to be even ready to sit in front of the person that you want to change chairs with and redesign your relationship?
Yeah. I mean, Sonia, there's so many different entry points for people. You know, for some, is the pain has become so unbearable that I'm willing to try anything, you know? And a baby step that I would offer to someone in that place is writing.
Mhm.
Writing is a powerful tool. And, you know, there's a writing tool called just your stream of consciousness writing. Just whatever is running, you know, that pattern of thought that goes and goes and goes and goes. Just write it out. Just write it out. And you're not writing, you know, because of for perfect grammar or anything like that. It is simply an exercise of releasing, so that we can start to see the other layers, you know, because as we write, we peel back the layers and we get to uncover that which was already there. That's always there. And what's always there, because sometimes people believe because they've gone through trauma that they are no longer whole. And that's not true, right? It's the experience of ourselves that is their reality, right? So, stream of consciousness writing is a wonderful entry point, right? To just see what is even ruminating in there, because
Sure.
usually there's some nuggets in there that we have not gained access to because we are so, and that is a habit. It's a habit of interacting with certain people in a certain way that we have to shift. And by doing something different, we indicate to our whole being, mind, body, soul, and spirit, that we are ready. And even if we're not ready, because I don't really like the word ready, but we are willing.
Yes.
We are willing. Because I'm not ready for many things, but I'm willing. And I can resonate with your sharing, Sonia, about your mother, because just recently I had that similar revelation, because we were in discussions about my mother coming to live with me. And I'm the oldest of four, and my mother is the closest to my youngest sister. They're like best friends. My mother and I are not like best friends. We never were, and I'm okay with that. But and the idea of her coming to live with me, I was like, mm, mm, right? I was having many moments.
I get it.
And by writing, right? Because what comes up? Judgment. Oh, you're a bad daughter because you don't want your mother to live with you. You know, all that stuff comes up. We're human.
Sure.
It comes up, right? And we get to look at it and decide how we want to navigate it. So, using the tool of writing, stream of consciousness writing, how I was feeling about this, how I was feeling about myself, feeling about this, about my mother, all of those things. Over a week's time, I would say, of just stream of consciousness writing, what came up for me is that I relate to my mother as my 10-year-old self. My 10-year-old self was responsible for my siblings because I was the oldest, The 10-year-old self was the one who, if they did anything wrong, I got punished. And that's how I was imagining that experience to be if my mother moved in with me. I'm going to be responsible for everything. So that story that I thought I had addressed and healed and, put to bed, here it comes, right? And that's the blessing, because things come up again, right? We work on something, we heal it to the best of our ability at the time based on where we are. And then years later, it could come up again. But now we have other tools that we can use. Now we have those years of experiencing ourselves in a different way, in a different light. And now we could bring all of that to where we are today, right? So it wasn't my 10-year-old resolving this.
Yes.
It was my adult self that knows who I am,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And can apply the love to the 10-year-old within me that still has some feelings that she's now ready to let go of.
Yeah.
You pinpointed something there when you said that it was your life's experiences that you could reflect on and turn to here.
Yes.
And this is that generational thing here between parents and children and grandparents and grandchildren, where we want to come to them and talk to them to try and bridge that generational gap. We come with experience, but yet we have to be careful that we aren't trying to impose our feelings and our will on them. We're coming to them to talk with them, to help heal them of whatever their issues are.
Right. But I want to speak on, we have to be in this conversation knowing that we want to heal ourselves.
Yes.
Right? Because we can't be fixing somebody else if we haven't worked on ourselves.
Yes.
Right? So we're still carrying around resentment and upset and victimhood with ourselves. That's how we're treating our children. We can't give them. One of the things that I realized especially working in youth development, is that parenting becomes, I'm going to fix all the things that I couldn't do for me. I'm going to fix them in you.
Right.
And that's not parenting. That's like you're missing a step. The step is work on you in order for you to really see your children.
Yes.
You could not have made that more poignant.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's very powerful. I remember Michelle Obama saying that she was talking about exercising, the things that she does for herself, because she wants her daughters to witness a woman taking care of themselves, right? So it's not just talking about it, it's being about it.
It's becoming.
Our children are, and we know this, right? They don't do what we say, they do what they see. And that is the truth. So we could talk all we want about whatever, but if we are not showing up as that, then they're not going to receive that. They're going to receive the energy in which they are experiencing you.
Yes. Your actions.
Yes, it always
is a reflection of them.
Yes.
Your
Yes.
action.
Yes.
And that comes full circle into what family could be. Right? Because, when you think about, we talked about faith, forgiveness, and family. When you look at your family, what is the dynamic between our families? Are we all operating out of our 12-year-old, 8-year-old, 10-year-old selves? I can still say that I do that with my brother. I become 5.
Right.
And so and because I haven't learned how to become a grown woman with him. Do you get what I'm saying? I'm still working on it. I'm very honest with saying, yeah, I'm still working on that. But the part about what is family starts with, you. Like, who are you to family? You can't expect your family members to be something to you that you're not willing to be.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. And we get to define and redefine that, you know? So maybe in our family at some period of time, sometimes as children we don't get to define. It's defined for us, right? We're defined as the responsible one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that can lend itself to a lot of stress and trauma.
Mhm.
We can redefine that, right?
Yes.
We can redefine what does responsibility look like and how do I engage it in my family with boundaries
Mhm.
so that I am taking care of myself.
That's a really good point.
Got
So
it.
we get to decide that.
Because then that's where the resentment comes in, right? Because you're walking around, I'm responsible one, I'm the responsible one. Then I'm resentful because I'm the responsible one.
Exactly. Exactly.
You take it out
Exactly.
on your family members because I'm responsible. But actually you are responsible.
Right. Right.
But the work in you healing your, like you said, setting your boundaries and taking care of yourself is the missing link. You're not
Yes.
taking care of yourself.
Yes. Yes. And someone said it might have been Maya Angelou that we teach people how to treat us.
Mm, yes, she sure did. That's a very
Yes.
powerful statement. And
And we do.
mhm,
We do. At almost at any age,
yeah.
right?
So let me ask you, Rev,
Mm-hmm.
what are the takeaways here? What are the takeaways that you want to be able to share with listeners that may be listening now and those who will be listening at some point in time in the future?
The takeaway that I would leave the community with is know this. You are worthy just as you are right here and right now. You are safe. You are lovable. You are enough just as you are right here and right now. And we have work to do.
Mhm.
So we can be worthy and still have work to do.
Yes.
And the work that we get to do is my offering is developing non-negotiable spiritual practices for yourself.
Mm,
That can look like journaling. Journaling could look like asking a question, asking for guidance, because all the answers really are within us,
Yes,
right?
they are.
And we just are consistent with that. You can have a spiritual practice of meditation or just being still, right? Not trying to still our thoughts, because our thoughts are always thinking. That's not the goal. It's just to be for a moment, 5 minutes, just to be with yourself, feeling into your body, right? Getting information. Our bodies are always speaking to us, right? And then writing, doing stream of consciousness writing that I talked about earlier. And doing something, a spiritual practice in nature is very powerful. I'm a tree hugger. I love trees. I have relationships with trees. Nature is very wise
mhm.
and is always in communication with us. So practice becoming friends with a tree and sharing,
Got it.
I think I'm going
sharing
to
your
try that.
heart.
And it's more than just save a tree here. Look, it's more than just save a tree here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Share with, because nature can hold a lot, right?
Mhm.
Oh, yes.
So share your heart, your hurts and your sorrows with the tree. And then just lean in and listen within.
Yeah.
We start to in tune to our intuition. It's in there, y'all. It's in
Yes,
there.
it is.
Yes.
Everything is comes from within.
Yes.
And I don't want to forget the piece about faith because you started
Yes.
this conversation about you and your husband were very clear on what you wanted to create for you and your family. And it was a becoming, right? It was like, this is who we need to be for our children,
Yes.
for your twin girls. So I want you to go back to that
Yeah.
because it's in the face of you're the creator, you're the designer of your life. And
Yes.
when it comes down to family, yeah, they're in our lives to grow us. We could be like, I don't want to talk to that one. I don't want, but it's growing us,
Yes.
Sure.
The
regardless of
ultimate,
joy or not.
yeah,
It's growing.
it is. I can't think of the author of the book, but there's a book called Radical Forgiveness.
Yes.
And the essence of radical forgiveness is being grateful for everything. When we could get to the point where there is nothing to forgive,
Mhm.
where we can see that this really did occur to grow me, to expand me, to heal me. And
Mhm.
this person, this soul, right? This mother, this father, this sister, this brother was in service to my healing, to
Yes.
me coming back to knowing the truth of who I am, right? And and that leads to the willingness.
Mhm.
So for me, for faith, if faith doesn't resonate with people, if it has a religious connotation, substitute faith for just a willingness. I
Mhm.
am willing to see this from another perspective. I am
Yes.
willing to see myself from a different perspective, right? Just a willingness. That's the entry point that we get
And
to explore.
and that's the entryway of coming to the table. Coming
Hmm.
to the table and having that conversation, having that exchange with that person in which you're having the issues with.
Mhm.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, powerful.
yes,
Yeah.
Because without that coming together, it will linger on and it will fester for years and years and years
yeah.
and may never be healed.
Well, what I would say is the coming together, come together with yourself first.
Mhm.
Mhm. As
Mhm.
Michael
Come.
Jackson said, I'm starting with the man and man/woman in the mirror.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's that energy will start to radiate out from within
Yes.
you
Mhm.
and things change.
Yes.
People change. When we change,
People change.
everything changes.
Everything changes. You are so right. You're so right. This has been an amazing conversation. So many clear tips that you have left us with, Reverend Melissa, that, I'm definitely going to get the Radical Forgiveness book. I read it myself, I think a couple of times too. I had to keep reviewing it. So we'll have that in our resources and a little breakdown of the resources that you have left us with. And one of the big highlights that I have that you left us with is one, start with faith. And if that faith is a little off, willingness.
Yeah.
Start with willingness. Start with the willingness to become and to express the world that you want to have. And, forgiveness starts with you. We have to start working on ourselves to understand where this pain comes from. And the way we do that is start with willingness to want to, and then do the work ourselves. So we then, as Terry has been wanting to, like, how do we build that gap? You got to start with yourself first before you have this conversation. And for some of us, we need to take it to experts like you. We need to take it to experts to help us mend these pains that we've had for sometimes generational
Yeah.
pain that we are
Yes.
healing with. And it's all good. It's
Mhm.
all good because the more we heal ourselves, the more we acknowledge who we are, the more we give permission to everyone else to heal themselves. And,
Absolutely.
when it comes down to family, like you said, you you create the family with your willingness of who you are, and those relationships are present to you. automatically. It will
Mhm.
change. Things will change if you change. And with this, so I want to leave you all with just leave a comment about this episode and what is the willingness that you have for your family, for yourself and your family. So, like we said, start with yourself and what practice, Reverend Melissa said, think about a spiritual practice or just think about the willingness. What are you willing to start with? Journaling, go hug a tree,
Mhm.
go be in peace for 5 minutes a day, just so you could have an intention of what you want to do for yourself that day, or just be in peace. And don't forget to subscribe and let us know how else you would like us to bring this conversation to the forefront about the power of family. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you as well.